Alright, podcast listeners, I am back with another episode of the No Limits podcast, and I'm very pleased to say that this episode I have remembered to get my little microphone thingy, so hopefully the audio for this episode should be a lot better than the last two episodes. Now I'm going to get right into this because we're going to do something a little bit different today, and for the next 5, potentially, no, not that long, what am I talking about? Maybe the next month, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because if you have been following me on my social media, on my Instagram, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff, you will know that very soon I'll be flying out to Australia to take part in the Invictus Games. In fact, at the time of recording this podcast, I think it's about 19 days left till we fly out. And I was talking with Garren, my friend who edits all these podcasts for me, and he suggested that it might be a good idea that I do, if I find the time, some sort of daily podcast while I'm out in Australia competing in the games. So, as I'm always searching for content ideas, I thought that was a good one. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a kind of limited edition, temporary Invictus Games edition of the No Limits podcast, starting right here, right now, this morning. So, where are we going to start? Where do we always start? At the beginning, because I'm very aware that a lot of you people listening to this may not know the backstory of mine. They may not know much about the Invictus Games, so I'm going to just say where we are right now and what it is that we're doing in the games. Now, if any of you followed my journey last year out in Canada, you know that I competed in 3 different sports. I was rowing, I was swimming, and I had a go at hand cycling. Now, in those separate sports, I had 2 races in each discipline. The rowing, I have to do a 4-minute endurance race and a 1-minute sprint. In the swimming, I swam 50 metre and 100 metre freestyle. And in the hand cycling, I did a time trial race and a criterium race. And, overall we did okay. I didn't do anything in the hand cycling. Got a couple of silvers in the rowing, a couple of bronzes in the swimming. Now this year, what I'm doing, it's not all going to be the same. I realised after cycling that I was completely garbage at it, and that if I was to get anywhere near the kind of level that the top athletes from last year were at, then I'd have to train twice a day, 6 to 7 times a week, and just go at this full-time professionally. And I don't have the time to do that, so I thought it might be a smart idea this year to drop the hand cycling and to do something else. So this is what I'm doing this year. I'm going to do rowing again. I'm going to do the 4-minute row, the endurance row, and the 1-minute sprint. I am going to swim again, 50 metre freestyle and 100 metre freestyle. And I think at our last swim camp, our coaches said what they've done this year is actually entered us for all of the swimming events. So freestyle, breaststroke, backstroke. And then what we can do is when we get there, we can, I guess, pick and choose, if you like, and do the ones that we're strong at. And then, if we're feeling good, maybe have a go at some more. Now, I've never swam anything but freestyle since being a para athlete. I've never done backstroke. I've played around with breaststroke a little bit, but I wouldn't say I was any good at it. I don't really know how to do it properly. I've just really concentrated on the freestyle. But depending on how I feel, depending on if the mood takes me, I might potentially do the 50 metre freestyle, the 100 metre freestyle, and the 50 metre breaststroke. But I'll make that call on the ground and decide when I'm out in Australia. Now, instead of hand cycling this year, what I've decided to do is shot put and discus. Never done them before in my life. In fact, when I was at the trials for the UK team, that was the first time I'd ever even held a shot put and discus. I've done 2 camps so far. Took all the advice on board that I can from our coaches, And in the meantime, when I've been at home, I have been watching YouTube videos and training on my knees with my prosthetics on in my front garden, because the difficulty I have in this discipline is that you throw from a seat. Now that seat is anchored to the floor. If you imagine a throwing cage in an athletics track, you have this special aluminium style seat. It's got 4 anchor points, one on each corner, and it gets ratchet stropped to the floor to secure it. And then when you sit on the seat, you get ratchet stropped onto the seat. So logistically, unless you are at a training camp, or you're at some sort of adaptive athletics club, it's very difficult logistically to get any training in outside of that environment. So I've just done the best that I could, improvised, adapted and overcome, and just got on my knees in the front garden. Fortunately, I don't have any next door neighbours, so I've been launching my shot put and discus into my neighbour's yard and then paying my kids £1 to go collect it for me and bring it back. So just making the best of a bad situation and trying to make those small incremental gains. Now, like I said, it's probably, I think it's, if I remember rightly, I saw an Instagram post this morning from the Invictus Games. I think it's 19 days until we fly out. And I'm in that period now, what they call tapering off, which is, it's not resting as such, it's just slowing down the pace, slowing down the intensity, knowing that you can't really do much more, but just kind of ticking over and keeping in the rhythm, really. More, I think for me, it's more to do with keeping my head in the game and just refining and making some tweaks on certain bits of technique. So the thrashing is over. I've done with the ass whipping. I've pushed myself as hard as I could in that respect, and now it's just keeping myself in the mindset, keeping my head in the game, making some small little changes to my technique, and just keeping focused and keeping flowing until we fly out there on October the 15th. Now, I don't want to give too much away in these podcasts in the run up to the games, but I do want to talk about my training, because I guess that's the interesting part of what these limited edition podcasts are going to be about. But I've attacked my training this year with a different mindset. Last year for me, it was pure brute force and ignorance. I'm not I'm not an elegant athlete, if you like. I'm not very refined. It is for me a case of, go hell for leather and hope that my fitness will win out over all the other athletes. It didn't work out that well for me last year. We did okay. We did okay. Like I said, 2 silvers, 2 bronzes. But, I had higher hopes for last year. And I've set the bar higher for myself again this year. But what's different this year, particularly with my rowing and swimming, because I did those sports last year, what's different for me this year is that I've really tried to hone in on technique and strategy. Normally my default setting is I come out the gate like a bull in a china shop, and the problem with that is, particularly with the rowing and the swimming, is that you gas out on the longer events. For the shorter ones, the 50-meter swim and the 1-minute row, that's got its place. But when you're doing a 4-minute row and a 100-meter swim, it has a very negative effect. Because when you gas out, you literally in these events drop off a cliff, and it's impossible to recover. So I found it much better to calm myself down and to trust in my ability and in my strategy, and to build up from the start to the end, and then save that burst for the end, which is what I'm planning to do this year, without giving too much away. So that's what all the training that we've done thus far has built to, and I feel really good. The difference this year, I think, with last year is that I'm a year older, and I'm starting to feel that too. Recovery is a big thing for me now. If you've seen my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and all that kind of stuff, you'd seen that I've thrown a bit of CrossFit into my training this year, which has been very beneficial. But I think now in this tapering down phase, I really need to take recovery more seriously, and to rest more, to stretch more, to get that, hydration right, the nutrition right, and, get some sports massages and get all the acid flushed out, all the kinks worked out, and make sure that I don't land in Australia with any little niggles. So anyway, that's it for those of you that haven't followed this journey at all. That's just a very quick, brief overview of what I did last year, what I'm going to do this year, and letting you guys know that we're going to do this limited edition podcast as I come to the later stages of my training and then get out to Australia to compete. I hope it's interesting to you guys. I really love sharing all this with you guys, and just opening up and being honest about my life and the highs and the lows, and that's what this podcast was all about. I told you guys from the beginning, this is just me spilling my guts, my thoughts, my feelings, sharing them with the world. It's not professional, it's not polished. I'm not a professional at this. This is just me gobbing off into a phone, my friend Garren cleaning it up, and then that's posting it on iTunes for you to listen to. It is what it is. And on that point, before I finish, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has downloaded the podcast, that has subscribed, that has left a comment, that has left a review, because we're just over 2,000 downloads now, which is pretty awesome. I love doing this whole social media online thing, and it's like another family to me. It's my social media family. You'll see that I post about that all the time, and I just love being able to share my life and my highs and my lows with you guys, in the hope that it might help or inspire other people that might be struggling in their lives. So thank you all for your constant support in everything that I do. I am going to shoot off now because I'm sat outside Costa. I've got a meeting. I've got a day of meetings actually, and then some training. And it's just got these last couple of camps coming up. Very exciting but very busy period. So guys, stay tuned. Keep your ears peeled. I'm going to bring you as much content as I can when I can.